Have you ever heard a story so emotional that it stayed in your heart forever and changed the way you see kindness and loneliness? If you love powerful emotional stories that touch the soul, then subscribe to our channel and become part of our storytelling family, because today's story will make you emotional and you will never forget it. Asterisk, the lonely rancher lived far away from the town where the land was dry and the wind never stopped blowing. His small wooden house stood alone in the middle of a wide empty ranch. He had horses, cows, and a dog, but no family, no wife, and no children. People in the nearby town said he was a quiet man who spoke very little but helped everyone when they needed him. His name was Daniel, and his life was simple but very lonely. Asterisk, every morning he woke up before sunrise, fed the animals, fixed fences, and worked in the fields. At night, he sat alone outside his house, looking at the sky full of stars. Sometimes he talked to his dog as if it were his only friend. Loneliness had become his life, and he had accepted it. Asterisk, one evening, a heavy storm started. The wind was strong, and rain poured like the sky was crying. Daniel was closing the barn when he saw someone walking slowly on the muddy road. It was a tall woman dressed in black clothes. She looked tired and weak, like she had been walking for days. Daniel ran toward her and asked if she needed help. She looked at him with tired eyes and said she had nowhere to go. Asterisk, Daniel brought her inside his small house. He gave her dry clothes, warm food, and a place near the fire. She did not speak much, but her eyes looked very sad. After some time, she told him that her husband had died, and people took her house and land because she had no money and no family. She had been traveling for days looking for work, but nobody helped her. Asterisk, that night, the storm became stronger. The lights went out and the house became dark. The woman looked scared and said she was afraid of thunder. She moved closer to Daniel and held his arm. She said she had been alone for so long and she was tired of being strong all the time. She looked at him and said in a trembling voice, "I need love. I am tired of being alone. Please do not move." Asterisk, Daniel was shocked, not because of her words, but because he saw pain in her eyes, not desire. He understood she was not asking for romance. She was asking for comfort, for care, for someone to make her feel she was not alone in this world. Daniel slowly moved his arm around her shoulders and said, "You are safe here. You do not need to be afraid anymore." Asterisk, the woman suddenly started crying. She cried like someone who had been holding pain for many years. Daniel did not say anything. He just sat there quietly and let her cry on his shoulder. That night, nothing happened except two lonely people sharing their pain and silence. Asterisk. In the morning, the storm was gone and the sun was shining. The woman helped Daniel feed the animals, cook food, and clean the house. She smiled for the first time, and Daniel realized her smile was very beautiful. Days passed, and she stayed at the ranch helping him with work. They talked in the evenings, laughed sometimes, and slowly the empty ranch started feeling like a home. Asterisk, one day Daniel went to town to buy supplies. When he returned, he brought a small box. The woman asked what it was. He opened the box, and inside was a simple ring. She looked at him with surprise. Daniel said, "I do not have much money. I do not have a big house, but I have an honest heart, and I do not want you to feel alone again. If you want, you can stay here not as a guest, but as my family." Asterisk, the woman started crying again, but this time her tears were different. They were tears of happiness. She said she had lost everything in life, but that day she found something more valuable than land, money, or house. She found someone who respected her pain and gave her dignity, not just sympathy. Asterisk. Years passed, and the lonely ranch was no longer lonely. People in town started visiting more often because Daniel and his wife were known for helping everyone. They gave food to poor travelers, helped sick animals, and never refused anyone who asked for help. Asterisk, one evening Daniel was sitting outside looking at the sunset. His wife came and sat beside him. She said, "Do you remember the stormy night when I came here?" He smiled and said, "Yes, that storm changed my life." She held his hand and said, "No, that night you changed my life because you did not see me as a burden." Or a stranger, "You saw me as a human who needed kindness." Daniel looked at the sky and said, "Sometimes people do not need money, food, or big houses sometimes. They just need someone who listens, someone who understands, someone who stays." Their story became famous, and the nearby townspeople said the lonely rancher and the giant widow found love not because they were looking for it, but because they showed kindness when the world showed cruelty. And the truth is, sometimes the biggest love stories are not about passion or beauty. They are about two broken people. It's cool to decide to heal each other and stay together no matter what happens in life.